Right now, your debit card just got declined for a $4 coffee, but the crumpled Powerball ticket in your pocket is worth $500 million. And choosing to never tell a single human being about it is about to quietly destroy your life. Before we dissect how to collect $138 million in net cash in total secrecy, hit like and subscribe right now. If you believe you have what it takes to hold a secret this heavy, you step aside under the buzzing fluorescent lights of the Valero gas station at 11:15 p.m., feeling your face burn with a sudden, humiliating heat as the cashier hands you back your card. The cashier, a weary-eyed woman named Denise wearing a grease-stained visor, gives you that familiar, pitying look. It is the look that says, "I know what it feels like to be 3 days away from payday with $4 in checking." You mumble a quiet apology, slide the declined debit card back into your leather wallet, and pretend to search your pockets for spare cash that you already know is not there. In the back pocket of your billfold sits a crumpled piece of thermal paper. You bought it on a whim 2 afternoons ago while waiting for your gas tank to fill, throwing $6 of leftover change from a $20 bill into a random Powerball auto-pick ticket. You only bought it because the glowing red digital billboard mounted under the unleaded price sign boasted a jackpot number so massive it looked like an international phone number. $500 million. You pull out your phone, a 3-year-old model with a web of hairline cracks across the glass screen, and open the official lottery application to check the winning numbers. You do not open it expecting to win. You open it mostly out of habit, mostly to give your hands something to do so you do not have to look Denise in the eye while you wait for the gas station parking lot to clear out so you can walk to your car in shame. The app reloads. The white drawing balls land across the screen one by one. The first number matches. You stare at the screen. You tell yourself it is a glitch, a temporary caching error on the local mobile network, a statistical anomaly that happens to thousands of people who win $4 and buy another ticket. The second number lands, matches again. The third number drops onto the screen, and your hand freezes solid against the cracked glass display. Behind you, Denise is ringing up a pack of light beer and a cheap disposable lighter for a highway construction worker in mud-caked work boots. The digital barcode scanner beeps in a monotonous, rhythmic chime that suddenly sounds like it is being broadcast from the bottom of a 10-foot swimming pool. The air inside the convenience store grows thick and heavy. Fourth number. Fifth number. Your chest goes tight in a way that has nothing to do with panic and everything to do with terror. Quiet, twin brother. Your heart does not race. It drops straight down into your gut like a lead sinker dropped into deep water. 6 numbers. All 6. Every single digit aligns with the black ink printed on your $6 slip of thermal paper. You matched all 6. You just won $500 million. You do not scream. You do not jump. You do not call out to Denise or the construction worker paying for his beer. That is the very first thing that shocks you. The absolute, deafening, heavy silence that falls over your own mind. The world does not go cinematic. There are no flashing lights or triumphant background music. There is only the hum of the ice machine in the corner of the store and the faint smell of stale engine oil and burnt coffee. You fold the thermal ticket once, then twice, until it is reduced to a tight, dense square, no larger than a postage stamp. You slide it deep into the front coin pocket of your blue jeans, the tiny button pocket above the right pocket that you have never used once in your adult life. Some ancient subterranean part of your brain already understands a terrifying truth that your conscious mind has not even begun to process. This piece of paper is no longer a lottery ticket. It is a live, explosive device. And the moment you show it to anyone, you pull the pin. Not Denise, not your brother, not your best friend, and not your partner sleeping soundly in your bedroom 2 miles down the road. Especially not them. Chapter 1. The autopilot drive home. You step out of the Valero convenience store and sit in the driver's seat of your 8-year-old Honda Civic. Your hands grip the steering wheel at 10 and 2. You have not even turned the ignition key. The dashboard lights cast a faint, cool blue glow over your white knuckles. You sit in the dark and try to do the math. But you do the math badly, the way human beings do math when their logical architecture is undergoing a complete, catastrophic structural collapse. $500 million. That was the number printed on the plastic billboard outside. The exact same number you had joked about with your desk neighbor Trevor 2 afternoons ago while sitting in the office break room, eating 3-minute microwave beef ramen and pretending your respective 401k accounts were not an absolute tragedy. You had laughed about buying a private tropical island with a helicopter landing pad. Trevor had laughed about buying a fleet of sports cars and quitting on the spot by sliding a resignation letter under the manager door attached to a brick. It was not a joke anymore. It was a cold, physical reality sitting inside the front pocket of your jeans. You turn the key, the engine turns over with a familiar, metallic whine, and you drive home on total autopilot. You glide past the 24-hour drive-through fast food joints with their sickly neon yellow lighting, past the darkened strip mall dry cleaners. You glide past the neighborhood church with the marquee sign that reads, "God sees your struggles even on Tuesdays," and past your own mailbox with the dented metal door from a hailstorm 7 months ago that you could not afford to replace. Your porch light is burning bright. Your partner 4-door sedan is parked in the driveway, occupying the exact same oil-stained concrete spot it has occupied every Tuesday night for the last 4 years. You park behind it, turn off the ignition, and sit in the idling darkness for 4 full minutes before opening the car door. When you finally step through your front door, the kitchen feels completely surreal. Nothing about the physical world has shifted, yet everything looks like a museum exhibit of a life you used to inhabit. There is the yellowing water stain on the drywall ceiling above the refrigerator that you have been meaning to prime and paint. There is the sticky silverware drawer that gets stuck halfway every single time you pull it. There is the stack of unpaid electric and medical bills resting on the laminate countertop under a refrigerator magnet. You stand next to the kitchen sink, holding a tiny square of thermal paper that could buy the entire residential subdivision, every house on your street, the land beneath it, and the company that holds the mortgages. That is when the cold weight lands squarely in the center of your chest. The ticket in your pocket is not wealth yet. It is a decision. The exact millisecond you speak that number out loud to another living human being, the narrative completely exits your hands. It ceases to be your private reality and becomes public property, subject to the opinions, advice, expectations, hidden resentments, and desperate requests of every single person who hears it. So you choose silence. You walk quietly into the bedroom, slide off your shoes in the dark, and lean down to kiss your partner on the forehead while they shift softly in their sleep. You pull out your phone, drag the screen brightness slider down to absolute 0, and sit on the edge of the mattress for 6 straight hours until dawn, researching 2 very specific subjects: how to legally claim a state jackpot without exposing your real name, and how to insulate a fortune from the people you love. Chapter 2. The 9th floor in Austin. 3 days later, you take a half day of paid time off from work, telling your team leader you have an urgent root canal procedure at the dentist. Instead, you drive 2 hours north down Interstate 35 to downtown Austin, taking the elevator up to the 9th floor of a reflective glass office tower. The frosted glass door reads, Whitfield and Associates, Asset Protection, Corporate Structure, and Estate Law. There are no decorative posters of smiling lawyers sitting in front of leather-bound law books. There are no brass scales of justice on the coffee tables. The receptionist does not ask for your name when you check in. She simply hands you a black acrylic visitor pass labeled Guest 04. This tells you everything you need to know. Grant Whitfield handles clients with problems like yours far more often than his modest website suggests. Grant Whitfield is a man in his late 50s with silvering hair at the temples, wearing a charcoal suit that looks extraordinarily expensive precisely because it bears 0 visible brand logos or flashy tailoring. He shakes your hand with a firm single grip, seats you across a massive solid walnut desk that has nothing on it except a fountain pen and a blank legal pad, and delivers the first directive before you even touch your coat pocket. First rule of stealth estate law, Grant says, his voice low, unhurried, and calm. Do not sign the signature line on the back of that ticket. You freeze, your fingers hovering near your jacket pocket. If you write your personal legal name on the back of that ticket, Grant explains, sliding a legal pad toward you, it becomes an instrument owned by an individual human being. The State Lottery Commission will require you to hold a giant foam check, photograph your face for their public portal, issue a press release, and host a mandatory media briefing. Your legal name, hometown, and photograph will be republished across every news terminal in North America within 4 hours. Instead, Grant reaches into a desk drawer, pulls out an official state lottery claim form, and points a brass pen at a tiny, nondescript checkbox near the bottom left margin. Prize winner elects to remain anonymous. Texas government code permits jackpot winners of prizes exceeding $1 million to select this option, Grant explains, tapping the paper, which, in your situation, you qualify for comfortably. But there is a major structural constraint you need to understand right now. He spins his laptop display around so you can see the spreadsheet ledger. The billboard outside your gas station said $500 million. That headline figure represents the 30-year annuity option, 30 annual installment payments stretched across 3 decades. Under Texas state administrative rules, if you choose the annuity payout, the Lottery Commission is legally mandated to publish your identity 30 days after the claim is processed. Regardless of what box you checked on this claim form, true, permanent legal anonymity is only enforceable if you choose the cash lump sum option. He taps a key, bringing up the cash conversion model. The cash value of the $500 million jackpot is $220 million, Grant says. You watch more than $280 million of headline fortune instantly vanish from the screen. You feel a sudden wave of physical vertigo. Not disappointment, but the dizzying, sobering reality of how state lottery mathematics actually function behind the marketing curtain. And that, Grant adds smoothly, is before the federal government takes its share. Grant Whitfield picks up his pen and breaks down the tax ledger line by line. Nominal jackpot headline, $500 million. Cash option lump sum value, $220 million. Mandatory IRS federal withholding at 24%, minus $52,800,000. The moment the lottery payout is wired, the IRS takes 24% directly off the top at the source, Grant says. That leaves $167,200,000 entering the designated receiving escrow account. However, 24% is merely an advance withholding tax payment. A liquid windfall of $220 million immediately catapults you into the top federal income tax bracket of 37%. When you file your annual tax return next April, you will owe an additional 13% delta on that total cash value. Additional federal tax due at filing at 13% delta, minus $28,600,000. Total federal income tax obligation at 37%, minus $81,400,000. State income tax in Texas, $0. Texas is one of 9 states that levies 0 state income tax on lottery winnings, Grant notes. If you had bought this exact ticket across the state line in New York or California, you would lose an additional 8 to 13% to state taxation. In Texas, what the federal government leaves behind is entirely yours. Net final liquid fortune, $138,600,000. Here is the fundamental rule of building wealth. True net worth is never the inflated, nominal figure printed on the billboard. It is the liquid balance that remains after mandatory tax withholdings, bracket reconciliations, and legal asset protection structures are fully executed. Grant leans back in his leather chair. To claim this payout without your personal legal identity entering state public archives, I will draft an irrevocable blind trust this afternoon. The trust will claim the prize. The trust federal employer identification number will appear on the state tax filings. My law firm will act as the public trustee. Your personal legal name will never appear on a single public document. What do we call the trust? You ask. Something utterly unmemorable, Grant replies. A name that sounds like a suburban utility district or an agricultural holding company. A name that an investigative reporter skimming public records would scroll past without a second glance. You think about the small, muddy creek that ran behind your grandfather's farm before the developers paved over it for a shopping mall. The Cedar Fork Family Trust, you say quietly. Cedar Fork, Grant repeats, entering it into the draft template on his screen. Cedar Fork Family Trust claims the check. The wire hits Cedar Fork Corporate Escrow Account. My firm signs the receipt. Your identity stays inside this office. Then Grant Whitfield closes his laptop, folds his hands across his desk, and drops his formal legal demeanor. Now I need to ask you the most important question of your financial life, Grant says, his eyes searching yours. Who else knows? No one. You answer immediately. Not a single soul. Grant picks up his pen and writes a large, dark number 1 on his yellow legal pad. Every single person you add to this paper, Grant says flatly, is a primary point of structural failure. This is not a question of whether you trust your family or your friends. It is a question of human biology and social psychology. People tell their partners. Partners tell their brothers. Brothers tell their coworkers. Within 90 days, A high school classmate you have not spoken to since 2012 will be standing on your front porch asking for a $70,000 loan to start an online business. If you want true anonymity, you must accept the profound solitude that comes built into it. Pause right here for a second. If you were sitting across from Grant right now, holding a ticket worth over $138 million net cash, who is the one person in your life you know you could not keep this from? Type their relationship in the comments below, and let us see how many of us would break Grant's first rule. You sign the trust incorporation instruments. The heavy brass pen feels heavier in your hand than any piece of iron you have ever lifted. Chapter 3. Lunch break at the cubicle. 2 weeks later, it is 12:55 p.m. on a sweltering Tuesday afternoon. You are sitting in the driver's seat of your Honda Civic parked in the employee parking lot outside your mid-level corporate job. Your plastic security ID badge is clipped to the collar of your polo shirt. On your desk upstairs, on the third floor, there is a yellow sticky note reminding you to follow up on an overdue invoice for office printer toner. You unlock your phone screen, open your primary banking application, and swipe down to refresh the screen. The mobile interface reloads. Available balance, $167,200,000. You sit completely motionless in the muggy heat of your car. Across the asphalt lot, Trevor from accounting walks past your front windshield holding a brown paper bag from Chipotle, waving casually at you through the glass before heading toward the side entrance. He has no idea that the person sitting in the dented Civic 3 parking spaces down from his sedan just inherited the liquid balance of a mid-sized multinational hedge fund. Your 30-minute lunch break ends in exactly 60 seconds. You lock your phone screen, slide it into your pocket, straighten your security badge, and walk back through the sliding glass doors into the air-conditioned office building. You spend the next 4 hours answering mundane client support emails, sitting through a department meeting about third-quarter key performance indicator tracking, and sipping lukewarm coffee from a styrofoam cup. In your mind, you are executing financial calculations that no one within 20 miles could possibly comprehend. You know that $28,600,000 of that balance belongs directly to the United States Treasury, set aside in short-term high-yield Treasury bills until tax season arrives next April. The actual liquid fortune that belongs to you, free, clear, and unencumbered, is $138,600,000. At 3:15 p.m., Trevor taps on your cubicle divider. He holds a manila envelope with a handwritten sheet taped to the front. Management Birthday Fund. $20 suggested contribution. Trevor sighs heavily, resting his elbow on your partition. "Hey man," he says in a hushed, weary voice. "We are taking up a collection for Steve's 55th birthday gift basket. I know times are tight with inflation right now, but if you have got 10 or 20 bucks cash, it would really help us hit the target." You look up from your computer monitor, where an Excel spreadsheet sits open. You open your leather billfold. You have exactly one $20 bill left in cash. If you hand it over, you will not have cash for parking meters tomorrow morning. You hand Trevor the $20 bill. "Sure thing, Trevor," you say, offering a polite, practiced smile. "Glad to help out." Trevor takes the bill, writes your name on the collection sheet with a stubby pencil, and shakes his head. "Thanks, man. Honestly, my rent went up 8% this month, and my student loans kick back in next week. I swear, I do not know how anyone in this city survives on middle management pay anymore without drowning in credit card debt." You sit there and nod sympathetically, making small, comforting noises. You cannot tell Trevor that 20 minutes ago, an automated wire confirmation hit your encrypted phone notification bar. Your commercial storage holding company just collected $135,000 in net monthly cash flow. You cannot tell him that the interest yielding on your Treasury Reserve account generates more money in 4 hours than Trevor earns in an entire calendar year. You have to play the role of a struggling, underpaid cubicle worker. You have to pretend to care about a $20 birthday collection pool while managing a 9-figure private balance sheet. That psychological friction, the constant, exhausting friction between your outer performance of scarcity and your inner reality of immense liquidity, is the invisible tax that begins draining your spirit long before the IRS ever asks for its settlement check. That night, after your partner goes to bed at 10:30 p.m., you sit at the laminate kitchen table under the dim yellow stove hood light. You do not browse luxury yacht brokerages. You do not look at exotic sports car configurators. Instead, you log into an institutional brokerage account established under Cedar Fork Holdings. Under the remote guidance of Denise Okafor, a sharp, unhurried, certified public accountant brought in by Grant Whitfield, you execute your very first major capital deployment. You place an automated market order for $40 million into a broad market, low-cost S&P 500 index fund. It is the most unglamorous, boring, invisible transaction imaginable. There are no corks popping, no champagne, no luxury brand rep shaking your hand. It is simply a digital instruction moving $40 million out of cash reserves into fractional ownership of 500 of the most powerful corporate balance sheets on planet Earth. To anyone casually skimming a bank statement, it looks like standard, conservative, institutional wealth management. It requires zero public explanation. It triggers no tax red flags. It leaves no paper trail that invites curiosity. Remember this foundational rule when you build wealth silently. Priority capital must always be channeled into broad market index instruments and yield-bearing treasury assets before a single dollar is deployed into high-visibility lifestyle purchases. Chapter 4. The Phantom Assets. Over the next 5 months, under Denise Okafor Quiet Financial Instruction, you learn the dark art of stealth consumption. You drive 2 hours north to an authorized luxury watch dealer in Dallas, far enough away from your primary neighborhood that no friend or coworker will spot your car in the lot. You purchase a Rolex Daytona with a black ceramic bezel and white dial for $30,000. You pay for the timepiece via a wire transfer originating from a single-member Delaware LLC managed under the Cedar Fork Trust. You do not wear it out of the store. You place it inside its green velvet pouch, lock it inside your car glove box, and leave it there for the entire drive home. You cannot wear a $30,000 luxury watch to a Tuesday morning staff meeting without Trevor from accounting making comments across the table. 3 weeks later, you purchase a Hermes Birkin 30 bag in gold Togo leather for your partner. When you hand them the iconic orange box on a rainy Thursday evening, you deliver the story you have rehearsed for 4 days in your car. It was an extraordinary performance bonus, you say smoothly, sitting beside them on the living room sofa. A quarterly commission pool from that regional commercial account I closed back in March. I have been quietly putting it aside for months to surprise you. You watch your partner touch the hand-stitched leather, their eyes filling with genuine, unadulterated happiness. But as they pull you into a tight hug, a knot tightens in your throat. That plausible, carefully constructed explanation was the very first deliberate, calculated lie you have ever spoken directly to their face in your 5 years together. Next comes the vehicle. A Range Rover SV long wheelbase in Santorini black, purchased under a second Delaware holding company. You do not park it in your driveway. You rent a private, climate-controlled storage unit 12 miles across town in an industrial park. Once or twice a month, late at night, while telling your partner you are running out to grab late-night milk or dry cleaning, you drive your Honda Civic to the facility, punch in the security gate code, pull off the velvet dust cover, and drive the Range Rover 40 miles down empty highway stretches outside the county line. Then you park it back in the dark, pull the cover back over the black paint, get back into your Honda Civic, and drive home to your suburban garage. Under Denise's strategic direction, you deploy another $15 million into commercial self-storage facilities located outside the suburban perimeter. Boring, unglamorous industrial real estate. No shiny metal corporate signs, no press releases in local newspapers, just 30 acres of concrete bays collecting automated monthly rent payments from families storing excess furniture between home sales. It is utterly dull. It generates $135,000 in net passive monthly cash flow. It requires zero public exposure, zero social media presence, and zero personal guarantees on public record. You believe you have engineered a perfect, bulletproof existence. You believe you are the absolute master of the secret. Until month 7. Chapter 5. The Fractured Kitchen Table. It happens on an entirely ordinary Sunday morning in October. You walk into the kitchen holding the morning mail. Your partner is sitting at the kitchen island with your personal laptop open on the counter in front of them. They were not snooping. They were simply trying to log into your shared airline frequent flyer portal to book a pair of economy tickets for a family visit over the Thanksgiving holiday. But an autofill sync feature on your web browser had automatically reopened a background tab. A PDF invoice was displayed across the screen. It was an owner statement from an executive private aviation management firm. Citation Latitude Private Flight Leg, $41,200. Your partner does not look angry. They look deeply, profoundly bewildered. The look of a person trying to solve a complex mathematical equation whose basic premises make no sense. What is this? They ask in a quiet, unsteady voice. You stand frozen in the doorway, holding a stack of grocery store discount coupons and a water bill. For 5 terrifying seconds, your brain frantically spins potential cover stories. A phishing scam email, a corporate booking error for a client at work, a fake invoice sent by a fraudster. Every single lie disintegrates before it reaches your lips because your partner scrolls down the screen. Beneath that single aviation invoice sits an organized folder of downloadable PDF files. 7 months of private wealth banking statements, corporate Delaware LLC filings, property escrow receipts, and asset management summaries spanning back to the exact night of the gas station ticket. Sit down, you say softly. Your voice is steady, but cold. You sit across from them at the kitchen island. You tell them the truth, or at least the version of the truth you can speak out loud. You tell them about the $500 million ticket bought at the Valero gas station. You tell them about Grant Whitfield Law Office on the 9th floor in Austin. You tell them about the $138 million net cash balance sitting in institutional accounts under the Cedar Fork Trust. They do not celebrate. They sit in total silence and look at you with an expression that cuts deeper than any argument. I have been splitting our grocery bills down to the penny, they say, their voice shaking not with rage, but with a quiet, devastating hurt. I have been stressing over whether we could afford to replace the broken garbage disposal in the sink. We ate leftover microwave fast food on your 32nd birthday. While you had over $130 million sitting in a private bank account, I was trying to protect our life, you say, but the words sound hollow, defensive, and deeply pathetic even to your own ears. I wanted to make sure we handled the legal side properly before our world changed. They look at you across the counter, not like you are a lottery winner who saved them from financial worry, but like you are a stranger wearing the clothes of someone they used to trust. You realize in that exact moment what Grant Whitfield meant 7 months ago when he wrote down a 1 on his legal pad. Every person who finds out is a point of structural failure. You thought you were keeping the secret to protect your relationship. In reality, the secret had quietly become more important than the relationship itself. Chapter 6. The Waterfront Fortress. A year later, you stand on the poured concrete foundation of an unfinished 9,000-square-foot custom estate in Vineyard Bay, a gated, heavily wooded stretch of Lake Travis shoreline outside Austin. The acquisition price for the waterfront parcel was $12.5 million before your corporate holding company closed the private transaction. The property deed is registered to an obscure corporate entity managed directly out of Grant Whitfield Legal Office. From the lakeside, there is no road visible, no streetlights, no adjacent mailboxes, no neighboring houses close enough to peek over a security fence. It is absolute privacy engineered directly into the geography of the land. Your partner walks through the open timber framing of what will eventually be the primary living room, running a hand along the raw wooden studs. Things are quiet between you now. You travel together on private charters. The unpaid utility bills and mortgage worries are permanently erased from your existence, but the effortless, uncalculated trust you shared during your broke years never fully returned to its original state. There is an invisible, permanent filter installed between every sentence you speak. You eventually resign from your corporate job, giving your manager a vague, carefully rehearsed story about joining an out-of-state consulting practice. Trevor from accounting organized a small going-away happy hour at a local pub, where you drank $4 draft beer and nodded along while he complained about his 401k match, pretending to share his everyday financial anxieties. To channel wealth toward causes without exposing your identity, Grant Whitfield established a donor-advised fund registered under Cedar Fork Holdings. Under United States tax law, a donor-advised fund allows a private entity to make tax-deductible charitable contributions while remaining 100% anonymous to the public and the recipient institutions. Through this structure, your fund quietly finances a full-ride vocational scholarship program at the community college near your mother hometown and provides operating capital for a veterans housing shelter 2 counties over. Your legal name appears on none of the press releases or plaque walls. Last Sunday, you visited your mother, small suburban home. You sat on her front porch while she showed you her latest county property tax assessment, her hands trembling slightly as she talked about how difficult it was becoming to maintain the home on her fixed pension income. You had the immediate liquid capacity to write a personal check that would buy her entire residential street in cash without noticing the deduction from your daily interest yield. Instead, you squeezed her hand, told her everything was going to be completely fine, and privately instructed Grant Whitfield to issue an anonymous community assistance grant through the donor-advised fund to pay off her property tax balance behind the scenes. Because handing her $1 million directly meant explaining where it came from. It meant bringing the chaos, paranoia, media risk, and legal complexity of $138 million into her quiet living room. It meant destroying her peaceful reality to solve a financial problem. You realize that under the laws of stealth, wealth, generosity cannot be warm or direct. It has to be processed through attorneys, corporate entities, wire routing numbers, and blind trusts. The legal firewall that keeps you safe from the world also prevents you from ever hugging your mother and telling her the simple, unvarnished truth. Chapter 7. The Real Price of Silence. Winning $500 million in total, absolute secrecy does not simply grant you financial liberation. It builds an invisible glass wall between you and the rest of the human race. The fortune sits exactly where you engineered it to sit. Untouchable, compounding, safe from frivolous lawsuits, predatory relatives, tax audits, and public envy, the S&P 500 index funds generate millions in passive returns every quarter. The commercial self-storage facilities collect automated rent on the first morning of every month. The waterfront estate on Lake Travis will be completed by spring. What does not survive intact is the person you used to be before you matched those 6 winning numbers under the buzzing Valero lights. You become an editor of your own life. You pause for 2 seconds before answering the simplest questions. You construct plausible, rehearsed stories for every watch, every trip, every purchase, and every absence. You edit your past, censor your present, and curate your future. If you were handed a $500 million winning ticket tonight, would you choose the absolute isolation of total anonymity, or would you risk your security to keep absolute transparency with the people you love? Drop your answer in the comments below. Notice it this week. The next time someone asks you a casual question about what is new in your life, and you feel that brief, 2-second delay in your chest while you calculate what is safe to say out loud, that delay is not paranoia, that is the actual tax. The one no attorney quotes you in a glass office on the 9th floor. The money never had to say a single word. You are the one who has to spend the rest of your life deciding what the silence is actually worth.